Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Roy and you're watching Roy D Strength and Conditioning. We're back for another week. So today is going to be a new video about exercises that you can do with sliders. So if you don't have these sliders, you can use any form of cardboard material or things that can slide onto like carpet or hard surfaces, or if you are on tiles, for example, you can even use socks that will just work fine. What these pieces of equipment, which really look simple, can do is you can work on eccentric motions is against the length of the muscle. So it's a huge from an injury prevention standpoint, especially for hamstrings, and the main focus of this session is hamstrings. And the second thing is we're going to do some variations of core and stability exercises. So a big from an athletic standpoint where you've got to use a lot of your stabilizers in the exercise, especially abdomen region, your glutes. And we also know, or if you haven't suffered from hamstrings injuries before, like I've done my rehab video before, they can be really niggly injuries. If you don't treat them well, you don't rehabilitate them once you got injured, so they come back really often and you will always have that little doubt in your mind that it's going to happen again. So it's very, very key that you focus on your rehabilitation if you've injured yourself, and if you haven't, you're really fortunate. You want to avoid it and you don't want to injure it, so that's when you do lots of eccentric work. And I will show you, I'll have a voiceover when I take you through the exercises of me doing them by myself, where I will explain what is eccentric exercises and why is it important. So let's get straight into the exercises. The first variation is the eccentric hamstring sliders. So with this one, you have the sliders under your heels as I've set up. You will lift your hips up, squeeze the glutes and the core, and start sliding out, controlling the length of the motion. So we are always stronger on eccentric motions as compared to concentric. So concentric would be something where I would be lifting the weight, for example, not in the opposite motion. So here I'm trying to lengthen and push out for my hamstrings while I control my hips, and I do not drop down for my hips. So my hamstrings are working against their length, which increases their strength, which increases their capability of sustaining high amounts of force while we sprint and have sudden stops and starts. So this one is the easier version of doing it, where you will control the slide variation out, drop your hips down, lift them back up, slide your legs back in, and then you will restart the movement. The second one is I've showed you a concentric and an eccentric version. So now the concentric part will be where I was pulling back in, which happens right now, and the eccentric versions is me controlling on my way out. So now this is harder because it's a big emphasis on keeping your abdomen nice and tight, keeping your glutes nice and engaged when you pull the slides back in. So you do not need to go to this variation if you haven't tried it before, because it can be hard and challenging, and you may hurt yourself. So it may not happen immediately, but you just got to try and avoid it and work your way through. So start with the eccentric portion, which is exercise number 1 first, and then slowly as you build some resistance in your hamstrings and some strength in your hamstrings, you can use the eccentric and the concentric variations to pull back in. The next one is I've given you another variation with the single leg. So once you've advanced to it, you can go to the single leg. So it's the same setup, but you will take one leg off the ground and only one heel on the slider and control while you lengthen and straighten your knee out. So you've got to try and slow it down as much as you can. You just want to fall flat. Again, this is harder, so it's the third variation. It's the hardest of the 3. So once you start from 1, you can do concentric and eccentric, then you can eventually work to the number 3, which is a single leg slide out. It is really important that you keep your core extremely engaged and your glutes engaged throughout the motion. So if you don't have tension in that, then you're going to start feeling it in the lower back, and if you start feeling it in the lower back, you know that you're not doing the exercise right. So key focus is keep your stomach engaged, your glutes engaged, and control as much as you can while you extend your knee out and make it straight. The next ones are all the variations of core exercises. So the first one's atomic push-ups, but this one's a variation with the knees if you can't do a push-up properly. So you simply slide out with your knees in and out, and you will add a push-up on your knees. If you can use you do regular push-ups, you slide in and out, and then you get into a push-up. So in, out, and push-up, again keeping that back nice and straight, the glutes engaged. You are staying in a complete plank, so you at no stage drop your torso down, so your back shouldn't start like like caving in. You should always be in a straight line, thinking that there's an object on your back and it shouldn't fall over. So as soon as you start losing stability, the object's going to fall over. So just being aware of these little minute details while you're doing the exercise. The next one is body saws. So this one can be quite challenging as well. It's simply extending out. This takes a lot of core strength, although it may look like a really small movement. But you're not only using your core but also your lat muscles, so your wing muscles, when you've got to pull back in. So keeping maximum tension on the stomach and pulling all the way through in while you continue to hold that plank position. So even if you watch my body posture, I do not lose the central part of my body. My trunk does not lose its shape. It always is the same. It doesn't sink in, it doesn't curve over, it's always the same, and I'm really crunching the stomach muscles as hard as I can, and keep that stability and keep that tension all throughout the motion. The next one, pike planks. So from here you will drag your toes in and push your bum up to the ceiling and then straighten out into a plank. So you notice when I'm back out into that plank and my body is completely straight, again I've got complete tension on my abdomen, my back is completely straight, and from here I simply drag my toes in towards my hands till as far as my hamstrings allow me. My knees are kind of locked out, so I don't bend my knees. You can have slight bend in the knees, there's nothing wrong with that, but the maximum you keep them there. You've got to slide in and out while you maintain tension on your stomach. You may think that it's only a core exercise, but it also is a big factor for your shoulder stability. So you've got to make sure that your wrist always stays under your shoulder. It's not further away, because you don't want to put too much of pressure while opening up that shoulder joint. So keep your wrist under your shoulders and maintain your tension all throughout. So you would go for anywhere between 10 repetitions of each, focusing on quality. So you take 10 repetitions of each exercise, then you would rest for about 30 seconds to about 45 seconds, and you do 3 sets of that before moving on to the next exercise. Make sure you have quality rest in between sets. You don't want to rush through it. You don't want to like kill yourself when you're practicing something new, you're trying something new. You must have quality rest and focus on the quality of the movement, not the quantity. So I always emphasize on this: quality of movement, not quantity. That is your main focus and always should be your main focus. I hope you really enjoyed this session. If you do find this beneficial, please share it to people that you think it will help, especially people that, players that are into football. Not only footballers, anyone can do it. Even from a general living standpoint, it's a really good exercise for your core. If you have back problems, stuff like that, it's all like eventually going to go away if you're consistent with it. And make sure you subscribe and smash that like button. I'd really appreciate all of the support that you've given so far. If there's any questions, just leave the comments below and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I hope you have a good week, and I will see you guys next time.